Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Shlok Kulkarni and today we are going to solve questions from VOR RMI ADF related chapter in RK Bali. So these questions as such are very simple to solve. The only prerequisite for this is understanding the theory, the working of VOR and how to approach every particular question. So as I solve every question, I will explain the theory, the concept, and so you will come to know how to solve every question. Now every question is little different, so the approach towards every question may differ slightly. So for this particular questions like VOR, RMI, you will have to adapt according to each and every question. So let's start with today's first question, which is question number 2. Aircraft is flying towards a station. So here first important word is flying towards. On a heading of 330, relative bearing is 350. CDI shows two dots fly left on a 5 dot indicator. To and from shows from. So what radial is aircraft situated? What is the OBS selection? What is the track? What is the sensing? Okay, and what side aircraft should turn to centralize the needle. So now you can see over here aircraft is flying towards the station, but the indication that you are receiving is from indication. So this clearly tells you that the type of sensing that you are going to receive is reverse sensing. But before that, let's draw this step by step. There is a VOR station over here. Okay, there is a VOR station. Aircraft is flying towards it on a heading of 330 and so heading of 330. So 330 reciprocal of 330 is 150, right? So that means there is a radial 150, there is another radial 330. So if you're flying towards the station on a heading of 330, so you can fly on a heading of 330 on that side of the station and also on this side of the station. But if you're flying on a heading of 330 on this side of the station, you will be flying away from it. So your aircraft is on this side of the station, and then and only then it will be possible to fly towards that station, right? So, so the first thing that we have determined is aircraft is flying towards the station. A heading of 330 on a heading of 330. Okay, on a heading of 330. Next, ADF is 350. Okay, so if ADF is 350, that means relative bearing is 350. The heading given is 330. From this, we will be able to calculate track towards the station. What is the formula? Magnetic bearing towards the station or track towards the station is relative bearing plus heading. Relative bearing is 350. Heading is 330. So the addition will give you 680, which is 320. So that means the track towards the station is 320 and aircraft is situated on reciprocal of 320, which is 140. So we will redraw this diagram. So always use the ADF information first and find the radial on which aircraft is situated. So we will also draw a radial 140, reciprocal of which is radial 320. So actually aircraft is situated on radial 3140 and it is flying on a heading of 330. So let's erase this out. Okay, so this is the correct way. So the first question, where the aircraft is situated? So aircraft is situated on radial 140. So the answer to this is radial 140. Okay. Now OBS selection. So now you are flying towards the station. You are flying towards the station. What OBS selection should you put? Okay. So when you are flying towards the station, right. So you have to put a OBS selection of 320. Okay, you are currently on radial 140. Okay, you are flying inbound towards the VOR. Okay, so when you fly inbound towards the VOR, you will have to put the reciprocal, which is you have to put the setting which is reciprocal of this. Why? Let's say, for example, this is your VOR station. This is radial 090. Now the job of a radial is to take you away from the station. Okay, all radials start from the VOR and go away from them. So when you follow a particular radial, you go away from that particular station. So in that case, the OBS selector that you put is 090, and when you do that, the to and from indication gives you from indication. And if you are correctly established on the radial, the CDI needle will remain in the center. The CDI needle will stay in the center. Now let's say you are coming homebound. Following this radial 090, on this radial 090, you are coming homebound or inbound towards the VOR station. In that case, what will you put? So whenever you are coming inbound, you will not put radial 090. You may be situated on 090, but that doesn't mean that in the OBS selector you will put the same 090. If you are coming inbound, the correct procedure is to put OBS setting of 270. In that case, you will get a from to indication to indication. So this is the correct way. This is called normal sensing. Okay, this is called normal sensing. And in normal sensing, you follow the direction of CDI needle. You follow CDI needle, right? So if the CDI needle goes to the left, you go left. If the CDI needle goes to the right, you go right. Okay, this is what happens. Now, when you're going towards the VOR station, this will be your left hand side, this will be your right hand side. When you're going away from the VOR station, when you're going away from the VOR station, what will happen? This will be your left hand side, this will be your right hand side. So it is very important that you put the correct OBS setting depending whether you're going outbound or inbound. So when you're going outbound, okay, and you put radius 090, so and if your aircraft has deviated somewhere to the left hand side, so in that case the needle will move to the right hand side, so you will turn right and come back to your original track. If your aircraft deviates to the right hand side, so the needle will move to the left hand side, telling the pilot that go to the left where your original track is. Similarly, when you are coming inbound, okay, the correct procedure is to put 270 radial bearing. Okay, in that case, if your aircraft goes to the right hand side, again the CDI needle will move to the left hand side, telling you go left because that's where your track is. If your aircraft deviates to the left hand side, you will receive information fly right. Okay, so this is called normal sensing. Follow the needle. No much calculation needed, no much thinking or analysis needed. So just follow the needle. Now, in case, uh, in another scenario, instead of putting radial 270 in the OBS selector when flying inbound, If you erroneously put 090 in that, what will happen? You will get from indication. You will get this same indication which is from indication. Okay, so you are flying inbound on radial 090. That doesn't mean, since that doesn't mean only because you are on radial 090, you should put 090 every time. You should read the entire statement, flying inbound or flying outbound. If you are flying inbound on radial 090, put 270, the reciprocal of that. If you are flying outbound, then and only then put 090. But what if flying inbound, you put 090? What will happen? What results will you get? First of all, you will get the from indication reflected in the CDI, and then the CDI needle itself, the direction in which CDI needle moves will be called reverse sensing. Will be called reverse sensing. Why reverse? Because the indication that CDI will show to you will be the reverse or the opposite of normal, what is normally expected. So now look at this. When going inbound, this is your right side. When going outbound, that same side is your left side. Okay, so the perspective or point of view changes. So now this OBS instrument doesn't know that aircraft is flying towards the VOR station. It only knows the setting that or the input that you have fed to the OBS instrument. If you have put 090, so all the indications that will be given to you will be with respect to 090 radial, which is outbound radial. But you are flying inbound, but the indications that you are getting is respect to outbound radial. Okay, so you are flying inbound, the indications are with respect to outbound. So there is a mismatch, and therefore we call this reverse sensing. For example, you are flying inbound. Okay, you are flying. I will erase this. You are flying inbound towards the VOR. Okay, position number one. At position number two, you have found yourself somewhere here on this side of the VOR. On this side of the VOR. This is your position number two. Okay. Now going inbound, you are flying towards the VOR. So going inbound, you are actually to the right hand side of VOR, right? So the CDI should move left hand side, right? Because the track 270090 is to your left hand side. So the correct expectation is that the CDI should move to the left hand side so that you turn left and then come back to your track 090270. But since you have put in the OBS selector 090 instead of putting 270, what will your CDI move? Where will your CDI move? It will not move to the left hand side, but it will move to the right hand side. The CDI will move to the right hand side. Why? How? You have put radial 090, which is outbound radial. With respect to outbound radial, imagine all your indications will be as if you are flying outbound from VOR, not inbound towards the VOR. And when flying outbound, this becomes your left hand side, this becomes your right hand side. So your aeroplane, which is on this side, is interpreted by the instrument as being aircraft is thought to be on the left side. Aircraft is thought to be on the left side. Why? Because you have put the setting 090, and with respect to outbound 090, that becomes your left side automatically. With respect to homebound, that becomes your right side, but you have put 090. So the instrument thinks or interprets that as your aircraft being to the left of your original track 090, and therefore the CDI moves. Therefore the CDI moves to the right hand side, because if aircraft is to the left of original track, the correct solution is to make a right turn and come back, right? So CDI moves to the right. Nothing wrong. What wrong? What went wrong here is the pilot's error. Okay, is the input that pilot gave to the OBS selector. If the pilot had given correct input of 270, okay, 270, he would have got not only two indication which is indicative of approaching towards the station, but also a CDI indication which is normal sensing. A CDI indication which is normal sensing. Okay. So now let's come back to the question. So we are on radial 140. The correct procedure if we are flying inbound towards the VOR station is to put the opposite of radial 140. Radial 140 is where we are situated. It is intending to take us outbound from VOR. But in the question it stated explicitly that we are flying towards the VOR. So 140 opposite 320 should be put. The to and from indicator should show you two indication. It should show you two indication. But the question states that the to and from indicator shows from indication. So that means instead of doing this setting, the pilot has done something wrong. He has put in the OBS selector not 320 but 140. 140 or any number which is other than 140, maybe 150, 120, 130. So any radial which is to this side of VOR, taking the aircraft away from the VOR. Okay, not only 140 but any number. Okay, but that radial is to this side of VOR which is taking aircraft away from the VOR. Okay, and therefore it is getting from indication. It is getting from indication, right? So now but what now we have to find out what OBS setting the pilot has actually put. 140 is what I think, but the question has given us one particular hint that CDI shows two dots fly left indications. CDI shows CDI shows two dots fly left. So this is your OBS selector. So aircraft is situated on radial 330. The CDI shows two dots fly left. Okay, from indication. So from indication is outbound radial. All the perspectives are with respect to outbound. So going outbound, this is your left side, this is your right side. If CDI shows tells you to fly left, two dots fly left, means from this position we have to go to the left hand side. So aircraft is on radial 140, but the pilot has put another OBS radial instead of putting 140. If we had put 140, the radial would have been in the center, but the CDI needle has gone to the left hand side, indicating that pilot has put a radial which is less than 140. So two dots left means what? One dot is 2 degree. So two dots will be equal to 4 degree. Two dots will be equal to 4 degree. So radial 140 minus 4 degree is radial 136. That means pilot has put in his OBS selection 136, and therefore the CDI needle has gone to the left hand side, telling the pilot that going outbound the setting which is 136 is to your left hand side. Okay, so OBS setting is 136. The track is towards the station. Okay, we are on radial 140 and the track inbound is 320. The sensing is reverse sensing. What side aircraft should turn to centralize the needle? So in case of reverse sensing, you don't have to follow the needle. You do what the opposite of what needle says. So over here, the needle is telling you to go left. Okay. What will the pilot do? He will fly right hand side. What will the pilot do? He will fly right hand side. He will fly right hand side. Okay. So these are all the answers to these questions. Okay. In ideals, like I said, in real case, you are on radial 140, you are approaching VOR. The correct procedure is to put 320 directly in the OBS so that you get two indication. But in this case, the pilot has put 136, therefore the from indication in spite of going inbound, and therefore the reverse sensing. Okay, so you have to do this sum step by step slowly. When you go for DGC exams, you will not get such a big sum. This sum is only for practice. You will get only one part of this whole sum, either only to find a radial or just find a track or only find OBS selection, only one part, not all the 4 5 parts together. Question 3. Let's go to question 3. So question 3 states that your aircraft is on a bearing of 263. Aircraft is on a bearing of 263 from a VOR. OBS is 09 or 1. What will the deviation bar show? That means what will CDI needle indicate? So what will the CDI needle indicate? So bearing of 263 from a VOR. From a VOR means they are talking about QDR, which is magnetic track from a station. Okay, QDR is nothing but your radial. So indirectly they are trying to tell you that aircraft is situated on a radial of 263 from VOR. OBS, in the OBS setting you have put 09 or 1. Okay, so let's draw this, understand this. This is your VOR, this is radial 263, okay, where your aircraft is situated. So I will just draw as of now a green dot which indicates your aircraft position on this radial. OBS selection is 09 or 1. So before that, reciprocal of 263 is what? 263 minus 180, 083. Next, 091, the reciprocal of which is 271. So always draw the reciprocals. So now in your OBS selector, you have put radial 09er 1. Okay. So now what will the deviation bar show? Now if now there are two possibilities, going outbound and going homebound. Going outbound, the pilot should have put a setting of 263. Okay, he would have gotten from indication the CDI needle in the center. Or if he wants, if he doesn't want to go outbound on this radial, but on radial 271, some other radial, he wants to change his radial from 263 to 271, he can do that. So he would have put, instead of 263, he would have put 271 from indication, and the CDI needle would have moved to the left hand side. The CDI needle would have moved to the left hand side, meaning 271 is to the correction, right hand side. 271 is to the right of 263. Going outbound, this is the left hand side, this is the right hand side. Going inbound towards the VOR, when you go inbound, this becomes your left hand side, this becomes your right hand side. Okay, the perspective changes. So these two possibilities we have discussed. Going outbound, either 263 center line, because that's where aircraft is situated. With 271, the needle will move to the right hand side, telling the pilot to go right. Now in this case, we have put an OBS setting of 09er 1. So 09er 1 is to this side of VOR. So if you want to go on radial 09er 1, bearing of 09er 1, you will have to first go towards the VOR. You will have to first go towards the VOR, right? So if you want to go towards the VOR, so I'm writing here, if you want to go towards the VOR and on radial 09 or 1. So if you want to go towards the VOR and radial 09 or 1, so the reciprocal of radial 09 or 1 is what? Radial 271. So if your aircraft is flying towards the VOR, currently on radial 263, and the pilot has put 09 or 1. So he will get two indication correctly. And what will the CDI needle show? The CDI needle will move. The CDI needle will move to the left hand side. Why left hand side? Because before that, before discussing that, let's say pilot had put radial 083. So with 083, the pilot will get two indication. The pilot will get two indication, and the CDI needle will stay in the center. Okay, so the CDI pilot, all the pilot has to do is maintain the CDI needle in the center, fly straight to the VOR, transition to radial 083. Okay, so he, meaning from 263 he has transitioned to 083. Now to come on 091, you should first go to radial 271. You should go to radial 271. So you will have to intercept radial 271 and then fly towards the VOR. Then fly towards the VOR. Okay, and then fly towards the VOR, and then overflying VOR, you will automatically find yourself on bearing of 09 or 1. So now you have already put 09 or 1. You will get two indication. The CDI needle will move in what direction? Since you are going towards the VOR, that will be your left side. This will be your right side. And the 271 radial is to your left hand side, which is reciprocal of 091. So it is telling you first go to the left hand side, intercept 271, then fly radial 271 inbound, and then transition to radial 09 or 1. So I will write it in words. The CDI needle moves left, telling the pilot to turn left and change the radial from radial 263 to radial 271. After intercepting radial 271, the pilot must fly on radial 271, must fly on radial 271 inbound, must fly on radial 271 inbound. After overflying the VOR, the to and from indication will become from, and aircraft will now fly away from VOR on radial 09er 1. On radial 09er 1. Okay. So this is how you do this. So the deviation bar will show fly left, fly left. How many dots? One dot is equal to 2 degrees. So the difference between 263 and 271 is 8 degree. So 8 degree will be equal to 4 dots. So 4 dot fly left indication will be shown by the CDI needle. 4 dots fly left indication will be shown by the CDI needle. Next, question number 4.